sometimes you're going to feel that in your gut that you just want to have a moment. Have the frickin' moment. Today, we're talking about mindfulness. Hello, Beck. How are you?
I'm great, Ange. How are you?
I am so excited to be here today.
Why? So am I. Why are you so glad we're here? I'm curious.
I was gone for, I don't know, what was it, like 4 days? I was away from home and I was away from my normal life. And it felt so long. And so coming back, it was like, oh, I get to come back and I get to do a recording with Becky. And it was just a total different shift in energy. I just wanted to get home. So nice. I'm excited to be here.
Nice. Oh, good. Good. So we're talking about mindfulness. What does mindfulness mean to you?
Mindfulness is, for me, I've talked a lot about awareness. It's being present in your own body, your own thoughts, being aware of what you're thinking. What is your body feeling? How are you reacting to the situation? So just being aware, tuned in, turned in, tapped in, turned on, whatever all those are, to what you are feeling and your energy.
For me, mindfulness means literally being in the moment, in this moment, in this moment. And it's the quickest way for me to go mindfulness is, I tell this to my clients, is my fingertips. If I just touch my fingertips, I feel that, and that sensation puts me back into my body and puts me into the moment. So mindfulness means to me a way of being in the moment. If you're feeling anxious and having anxiety, you're living 5 minutes from now, 5 days from now, 5 months from now. If you're feeling depressed, you're living 10 minutes ago, 10 days ago, where when you're in mindfulness, you're in this moment. Anxiety diminishes, depression diminishes, and you feel more calm in your body. One of my favorite things about mindfulness is if you're new to mindfulness, you might think that it means, like you can only be in mindfulness when you're meditating, or you can only be in mindfulness when you're being still. If I'm having a conversation with somebody and I feel myself getting a little bit anxious, going into anxiety, or being kind of like just overthinking things, I will go into mindfulness and I can still hear the conversation and be mindfulness. So mindfulness can be incorporated into all areas of your life. Absolutely. At all times. It doesn't have to just be when you're on the pillow and you're meditating.
That's what everybody thinks. It's just this moment of just like, actually, like you said, meditating. And mindfulness, the practice of mindfulness is anytime, wherever you are. And I find it's the most helpful, like you said, in those moments where you're feeling anxiety build up. What's coming up for you? How do you just be? That's all it comes down to. I am here. I am present. This is the only thing in the world I can have any control over right now, because I think a lot of it's about control. What do you think?
Huge. It's like, what do I have control over right now? My body, my thoughts, my breath, my movements. That's what I have control over right now. And if this word bounce back ability has been really popular, which is basically developing resilience. If you want to develop resilience, mindfulness. When you have an event occur that, like I've done things, I've said something that was so ridiculous. And later on, I'm like, I can't believe I said that. I can't believe it. And I could beat myself up for days, weeks, sometimes even months, I'll be honest. And going into mindfulness sets me in a pace of, okay, I said it. What am I going to do with it? When things happen and you're like, good. I don't know what to do. Oh, mindfulness.
I call it bringing it in.
Bring it in.
Bringing it in. Like I need to bring it in. It's reel it in, whatever it is. I feel it. I feel it spiraling. Feel this, whatever's building. And it's just like, bring it in. What's going on right now?
I can feel that.
Right
I feel that
now. That's all, like you said, that's all we have is right now. And what is that you're saying to yourself? And also having an understanding of what is triggering. That's a very popular word right now. What's triggering things that send us into those moments? Because if you had a conversation with somebody months ago, but you're thinking about it now, what's causing that to come up? And how can you release that?
You used a word that literally makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up, because it is such a popular word right now, and that's triggered. And a trigger is a choice. It's a
So
choice.
true. So true.
And, I remember I did a YouTube video on this years ago about how I used to have a physical reaction when I would see a hearse. I had a boyfriend die when I was 19
Oh,
years old, and it was really, really traumatic. And as a result of that, when I would see a hearse, I would literally hyperventilate.
mm,
And so that was my trigger. The trigger was a hearse. And so I years later went to a funeral and I told my husband, I'll be right back. I need to go talk to a car. And so I literally went over to the car and started talking to it and saying, you're just a car. You're a beautiful car who takes people from point A to point B. And that doesn't trigger me anymore because I took it on. And
yes.
taking it on, if things are triggering you, you're not going to be triggered by a hearse. Somebody else,
Something.
it's something else. Yes.
Yep.
And so
There's so many things.
when you face that, it diminishes its power over you. Because when you say, oh, I'm so triggered by that, you're basically saying I'm going into victimhood.
I'm a victim. I'm going to join the rest of you that are victims, and I'm going to wallow. We talk about wallowing in it. No, you're right. It's a choice. It's absolutely a choice. And having the mindfulness, though, to understand what its root is. Where does it go back to? So as you said, it's being in the moment, and there's more to it. There's more to it because you're just in the moment. You may be just blocking out. What are those things, those patterns, those thought patterns, those things that you get to work on? Because we all get to work on stuff. If we're not working on it, we're not talking to cars. Not that there's anything odd about that, Becky. No, I totally get it though. It's whatever has control or you are allowing to have control or power over you or changing the way you think or what you're doing. Be aware of it, but step into it and say, that's enough. No more. It's like having boundaries.
It's being persistent.
Oh, yes. It's the best way I can say it is when it happens, because it's going to happen. If you want to call it a trigger, you can call it whatever it is. If you have a reaction to something, reel it in. Bring it in. Think about what is coming up for me right now and let it go. Let it go. It doesn't matter at this moment. Whatever happened 6 months ago, what's going to happen in 5 minutes from now? I'm here. I'm powerful. I'm resilient. I'm strong. I'm confident. Whatever those words you need to say to yourself are all of them, and do it. That's the first big step. And I feel like for me, what do you think, Beck, for mindfulness?
So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to reply with a question.
Okay.
I heard you say, and you just let it go. And I can hear people right now watching this. Well, how do I do that? That's kind of an important piece of the information. How do you let it go, Angie?
Well, it's like me saying, how do you go up to a car and talk to a car and think it's going to be gone? I mean, I can turn the question into a question. So you walked up to a car, you had a conversation with it, you said you're just a car. How did that just go away for you?
Its power was gone.
How?
I confronted my fear. I mean, that's really basically comes down to that. I confronted my fear. Gone. Totally gone.
So do you think people are going to believe that?
I challenged them to try it. Find a trigger for you. Okay, viewers, here's your challenge. Mm-hmm. If there's a regular trigger for you, I invite you to challenge it. Giving into triggers is not empowerment. If you like being in that place, by all means, stay there. If you want to feel empowered, step up and challenge those things that trigger you.
It sounds so simple. And just like Becky said, it really is. If you are putting real faith and belief, if you're just like, oh, I'm going to try this thing and I'm going to walk up to this car, I'm going to say, I really, whatever. That won't work. You have to have the desire. You have to want to. You have to have the why. Why would you even want to? Why would you even want to? Start there. If you like Becky said, if you like seeing something triggers you and you like that feeling and you want to stay in that position, okay, do it. But if you say you want something different, now's the time. Pick something. Pick something that triggers you, sets you off, upsets you, makes you uncomfortable, whatever that is, and take action. That first step is just being aware. Oh, this came up for me. Okay, I am not threatened by, we're going to use a hearse. I'm not threatened by this. This does not bother me. It just is, and I'm okay. And we're moving. And move forward. And we're moving. It is easy, and it's not. It starts with being aware and being mindful. So I use the word awareness more than I use mindfulness because I am aware of when those things come up for me. And I'm aware that when I don't want to do certain things. So it's not just about things that are happening to us or around us. It's what we're making the choices. What is my awareness? Like, I don't want to work out today. I don't want to get off the couch. I don't want to go to work. I don't, whatever that is. And going, okay, I get to make these choices because they support me. They benefit me. I will feel better. Mindfulness. I feel better when I work out. I feel good. It's just being aware of it. And that's that monologue part. You're always talking to yourself. You know that, right? But you know that, right? You know that, right, Becky?
That book I read, it's like you have a roommate in there all the time.
And it's a really noisy roommate, by the way. Never stops talking. And are you aware of what you're having this conversation? I always thought it was a dialogue, inner dialogue, but it's really a monologue. I don't know. They say it's a monologue, but I really feel like I'm talking to someone. I'm like, no, yeah, you really need to. I don't. Okay. I'm going to get up now and I'm going to get my shit together and I'm going to get out the door, whatever that is for me. Being aware and taking action, even if that action is just to be, as Becky we did earlier. Right?
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned working out. How do you take mindfulness into working out and getting it done? You just said you're in that space. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. So how are you leveraging mindfulness to get there?
I know that I feel better after I work out. So if I know that I have a positive reward, I want that feeling. Well, the only way I'm going to get that feeling is actually doing it. If I sit here on the couch or I delay it or I find other things to do, because there's always something to do. Always.
Isn't that weird?
There's always going to be. It's like where there's a void, something will be filled. Unless you make a plan and you schedule for it. For me, unless I schedule, it's not happening.
Anyone knows me knows I'm an avid hiker. Like, I love hiking. I got to go hiking this morning. And it is the best way for me to feel mindful. I don't like to, even when I hike by myself or walk by myself, I don't like to wear headphones because I like to hear the crunching of the leaves. I like to hear the birds singing. And yes, the roommate in my head that talks too much. I like to hear my feet land on the ground. You could actually do a walking meditation. It's pretty cool.
It is.
And just pay attention. And so I know that when I go out on my hike, I'm going to be rejuvenated. I'm going to be filled up. So we have a friend, Mindy, and Mindy.
Hey, Mindy.
Hi, Mindy. For years, Mindy has heard me talk about walking. She's heard me talk about hiking, and she sees the passion in me and thinks, why don't I have that about hiking? Well, because she doesn't like hiking. Not everybody does.
Oh, it's so true.
And guess what? She found out something that she loves, Pilates.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
and so guess
that.
what happens when you find out something, a way to move your body that you love? Guess what happens?
You find your joy.
You do it.
Yes.
You do it.
Yeah.
You get dressed up.
To.
Yeah. You get dressed up. You show up and you do it and you enjoy it and you look forward to it the next time.
Absolutely.
So mindfulness and moving your body, they do go together because they're enjoyable. If you're sitting there exercising and you're like, I hate this. This is horrible. That's mindfulness. You're saying, this is horrible. This sucks. This is terrible. I don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. You're practicing mindfulness. Mm-hmm. And if you're instead going, this is wonderful. I'm enjoying this moment. This is wonderful.
Yeah, but if you're really not, don't do it. Find something else. There's so much in this world. You don't have to do something you don't enjoy. Truly, unless doctor said you have to do this. I'm going to say that. We have to have our disclaimers. However, I love lifting weights. It's what I love to do. I love it. I love it. I mean, I love it. But not a lot of people do. Like I do. I mean, I'm like, I'm in there. I'm like dropping weights and, that's what brings me joy. And I'm going to flip it a second here. You talked about hiking. This is a story about Beckie and Angie. An adult story from, was it 2 years ago, Beck? Almost 2 years ago?
Yes. It was 2021.
We had a absolutely glorious trip. Girls trip. We went to Vail in July. Yeah.
July 14th.
That's right. For Becky's birthday. Mark it down. send her all kinds of gifts and gifs and memes and all that stuff. So we went for Becky's birthday. Becky loves to hike. I was like, well, this is perfect. Vail's perfect. The girls' idea of hiking is nothing like mine. Mine is like strolling on a flat path, going up a slight incline with my camera, taking pictures of birds, butterflies, and mushrooms. And Becky is, she is a powerhouse. And we decided, you go ahead and I will catch up with you and we will have a wonderful time at the top and then we'll come back down. And so we both got to do what we wanted to do because mine is being the journey, the butterflies, the trees,
the baby deer. Remember you saw those baby deer? I totally would have missed them.
Yes, there's that. You never know what you can find out about yourself and nature and the world around you if you just reel it in, be mindful, be aware of what's going on up here, what's going on in here, and don't delude yourself and think that it's not, because it is. And making the choices to, where do you want to be with this? Do you want to get all riled up? I don't know. There's times, Becky, I want to get riled up. Do you agree?
So yes, and you can be riled up and still be mindful. You don't have to be, you don't have to be disconnected. Like you can get angry and still feel like, I feel anger right now. I feel anger. Like that's owning your feelings. It's there, mindfulness isn't about I'm happy all of the time. No, sometimes you get angry and
spurs you on sometimes.
Yes. And that's okay. You can still be, I feel anger right now. I feel infuriated right now. I don't at this moment. And you can still notice your feelings that, yeah, that's how I feel right now. And that's okay. It's not about all rainbows and unicorns every time.
Absolutely. That energy for me, that frustration, that build, that anger, that whatever. Yeah, sometimes it just has to come out. How does it come out? How do you flip it? How can you use it? So one of the things Becky and I were talking about, or you mentioned it earlier, was resilience. And that resilience of, what did you say that keyword, the word is coming up now is like that bounce
back ability.
Bounce back ability, otherwise known as a really fancy word called resilience. Like sometimes you're going to feel that in your gut that you just want to have a moment, have the freaking moment, feel it, know it. And if people are around, I've said, I just need a moment. Be clear. I have said, I am having a moment. You can choose to stay or not, but this is where I'm at. I'll be fine in a minute. I really am. Becky and I had a call not too long ago. I lost my shit. Would you agree, Becky? Kind of lost it.
I wouldn't
and not
say
in a
lost
judgment.
It. You explored your shit.
Deeply. And I said, as soon as this is over, as soon as I get this all out, I'm going to be fine. And before we even finished the call, I was like, okay, I'm fine. Can we move on now? Because I needed to get it out and I needed to feel the feels. What is this that I'm feeling? I can handle it and I'm going to bounce back. And you said it earlier, bounce back stronger.
Yeah. Resilience, getting back up, falling down, getting back up.
One more time. Yeah. Just one more time. Yeah. And no matter what happens, and you practice with the little things, like you said, what are those little things that may not be little, seem little to you, but when those really big things happen, you just have it built in. It's just like muscle memory. Oh, I know this. Okay, what I do this. And you're up. And you're like chest out. I'm bring it. We're ready.